If this message reaches you, it is meant for you. For anyone seeking inner peace today, you are not the mind, listen. There comes a moment in every spiritual journey when the seeker realizes that the truth they've been running toward has been quietly waiting inside them the entire time. Part 3 is that moment. You followed the mystic through danger, through forbidden wisdom, through the quiet places where God is not a concept but an experience. But now we enter his final teaching, the one he whispered with his last breath, the one the world tried hardest to bury, the one that reveals what it truly means to awaken heaven inside you. What you're about to hear isn't just philosophy. It is the lived truth of those who broke inside, healed slowly, loved deeply, and found God not in the sky, but in their own breath. He said that every soul is called to a moment of surrender. Not the surrender of defeat, but the surrender of resistance. The surrender of the false self. The surrender of the story that tells you you are small, lost, unworthy, or incomplete. He said that when you stop holding on to your story with clenched fists, something begins to flow through you. Something ancient, something holy, something that feels like remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. Most people think awakening is loud. He said the truth is the opposite. Awakening is quiet. It is the moment the noise loses its power. It is the moment you stop living from the outside in and begin living from the inside out. He spoke of detachment, but not as a cold withdrawal from life. He meant something deeper, more intimate, more liberating. He meant letting go of everything that keeps you trapped in fear. Letting go of the need to be right, the need to be seen, the need to be approved, the need to control outcomes you were never meant to hold. He said to be full of things is to be empty of God, and to be empty of things is to be full of God. But this emptiness is not a loss, it is a clearing. A clearing where grace can finally enter. A clearing where the soul can breathe. A clearing where you stop performing for the world and start hearing the quiet truth beneath every heartbeat. There was a woman in Oregon, an artist, who had spent years battling depression after her divorce. She said she felt like a house with all the windows boarded shut. One day, sitting alone in her studio surrounded by unfinished canvases, she stopped trying to paint something meaningful. She just breathed. And in the stillness she felt a gentle warmth spreading in her chest. Not joy, not relief, but something softer, a quiet presence. She later said, "It felt like someone opened one window. Just one. But that window was everything." That is the detachment he spoke of, the letting go that allows a single window to open, and through that window, light enters. He taught that prayer at its highest form is not asking for things, not begging for mercy, not pleading for intervention. True prayer, he said, is the quiet surrender of the self. It is the moment you stop speaking and begin listening. It is the moment the separation between you and the divine dissolves like mist in sunlight. He said the most powerful prayer is the outcome of a quiet mind. Think about that. A quiet mind is a prayer. A breath taken with awareness is a prayer. A moment of non-judgment is a prayer. A single tear of release is a prayer. Because in that quietness, the soul is no longer blocked by fear, and the divine can finally speak. There is a man in Florida, a retired firefighter. He spent decades running into burning buildings, saving lives, watching death come too soon. When he retired, he started waking in the night drenched in sweat, haunted by memories he tried to bury. One night, unable to breathe, he sat on the edge of his bed and whispered into the darkness, "I don't know what to do anymore." And then he felt something he hadn't felt in years, stillness. The room was silent. His mind was silent. His heartbeat slowed. It was as if something sat beside him, not taking the pain away, not changing the past, but saying, "You don't have to carry this alone." That moment changed him. He later said, "I think that was the first real prayer of my life. That is the prayer the mystic meant, the prayer born from surrender, the prayer born from silence, the prayer where God is not petitioned but revealed." Then he spoke of something even deeper, the Godhead, the source beyond images, beyond language, beyond every idea we've ever tried to attach to divinity. He said God as people imagine him, as Father, Creator, King, is only one expression of the divine. He said there is something deeper still, a silent stillness beneath all being, the ground of all existence, the place where God arises from. He said that when the soul becomes empty enough, quiet enough, surrendered enough, it touches this ground. And in that moment there is no you and God. There is only being, only awareness, only presence. Imagine standing at the edge of the ocean at dawn, watching the first light spill across the horizon, and for a moment forgetting your name, forgetting your age, forgetting your worries, because the beauty is too overwhelming. That moment where you disappear into the moment itself, that is a taste of the Godhead. There was a young mother in Texas raising 2 children alone. She worked 2 jobs. She never stopped moving. But every night, after her kids fell asleep, she sat on the floor beside their beds and placed a hand on her heart. She didn't pray with words. She didn't know what to ask for. She just sat. One night, after months of this, she said she felt herself dissolve. She said, "I wasn't me. I wasn't a mother or a woman or tired or scared. I was just there, a presence." She cried without knowing why. She said it felt like she had touched something infinite. That moment was not imagined. It was the Godhead flowing through the cracks left by exhaustion and love. But the teaching that truly terrified the powerful was this, that the divine is born in the soul the same way the eternal Word is born in God. That creation is not a past event. It is happening inside you, here now, every time you become still enough to receive it. He said God is born in the soul when the soul becomes empty of itself, when the I falls away, when the noise fades, when the heart becomes spacious. And in that birth, the human and the divine meet. That moment is the purpose of human life. Not to worship God from a distance, but to become the space where God awakens to himself. A man in Chicago once described this moment without knowing the mystic's words. He said he was sitting on a train headed to work during a winter morning. People were tired, silent, wrapped in heavy coats. He stared out the window at the snow-covered tracks, thinking about bills, deadlines, the weight of his routine. And then he felt something shift. The noise in his mind stopped. He looked around the train and felt overwhelming compassion for the strangers beside him. He said, "It felt like someone else was looking through my eyes." That is the birth, the divine seeing through the human. But awakening is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of responsibility. Because once you realize God is within you, you must begin living in a way that honors that truth. He said the awakened soul becomes an instrument of the divine. Not by trying, not by performing holiness, but by simply being available. Available to love. Available to serve. Available to listen. Available to be the hands and eyes through which the divine word continues to speak. There was an elderly woman in New York who lived alone in a tiny apartment. She never became famous. She never wrote a book. She never gave a sermon. But every day she cooked a pot of soup and fed anyone in her building who needed a meal. She said she didn't do it out of charity. She said, "When I look at them, I see God hungry." That is what an awakened soul looks like. Quiet, tender. powerful in ways the world does not measure. As he faced the Inquisition, he remained calm. He said, "I may err, but I am no heretic." He knew the truth he carried could not be chained, censored, or killed. He said even if they silenced his voice, the truth would rise again wherever a soul became still enough to hear it, and he was right. His words echo now because the truth he carried does not belong to him. It belongs to anyone who has ever felt the presence inside them waiting to be remembered. So now I ask you, what part of you have you been ignoring? What truth have you been afraid to feel? What quiet whisper inside you have you refused to trust? Heaven is not a far-off destination. It is the awakening of the divine within you. It is the moment you recognize that the light you've been chasing is the light you already carry. It is the moment the seeker realizes they were never separate from what they sought. If this message reaches you, it is meant for you. For anyone seeking inner peace today, you are not the mind. You are the awareness behind it. You are the ground where the human and the divine meet. You are the space where God is born again and again. Take one breath now, a real breath. Feel your chest rise. Feel the quiet beneath your thoughts. That stillness is heaven inside you. If this touched you, subscribe for more. Share this message with someone who needs it. And remember, silence cannot be destroyed. It waits patiently for the one who is finally ready to listen.